What's going on, YouTube? rdapdan here. Hope you guys are having a really good week. Still figuring out this whole Facebook thing, trying to share it, and you can't share it the same way you do on YouTube. So trying to time that just right. But hope you guys had a good week so far. Bear with me while I'm sharing this. And guys, if you haven't already liked my my Facebook page, please go ahead and do so now, as we're trying to also grow the users and subscribers over on Facebook. There is a link in the description of this video towards the bottom that will allow you to join us on Facebook as well. What's going on, Mr. Merrick, Alex, Bonnie? How are you guys doing today? And we're almost finished here. We're going to talk about a few interesting things. Hopefully you guys will find it interesting. And share this in one more spot and we're good to roll. All right. So make sure you do like, subscribe, share. If you haven't already, text the word YouTube to 35074. Now's a great time to go ahead and do that. Hey Jay, Rhonda, how are you guys doing? Robert, what's going on, bud? So I had a phone call today with a lady named Tamara, who's probably going to be on the show next couple of weeks, I would imagine. Her son is in federal prison. And we got talking a little bit about RDAP in itself. And you know what's interesting is a lot of people think RDAP is like this brainwashing protocol. And I was one of those people that also believed that initially when I was getting into the program. I really felt like it was brainwashing me, because it does get you to think differently, get you to act differently. And because they use the incentive of getting a year off, you really find yourself putting yourself into a very uncomfortable situation and doing very uncomfortable things, trying to make sure that you can do everything that you can do to get the year off. So a lot of people, they'd either quit the program, drop out of the program, or they never entered in the program. They were just other guys out on the compound on the prison yard. Hey Scott, what's going on, my man? And they would make statements like, hey, you know, guys are getting brainwashed in there. You need to run. You need to get out of that program. And, you know, it's like, how do you handle that? It was funny. I pulled up I Googled RDAP brainwashing. And this is, somebody actually wrote a blog on this. I think it's right here. Let's see if this pops up right. Let's make sure I know what I'm doing here. Stories from Club Fed. There's actually a link to this blog in the description of my video. Hey, Big Billy, what's going on, man? We'll talk a little bit about what's going on in Puerto Rico, over there where Billy's at right now. But so this is somebody that went through RDAP, and basically because I had a history of drug abuse and didn't have a history of violence, then my lawyer said I would get 1 year off my sentence if I completed some type of drug program while in prison. Sounds great. Whatever you say, he says. Little did I know how much that last sentence would apply in the RDAP program. The Residential Drug and Alcohol Program, administered by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, is based on CBT, a cognitive behavior therapy. I'll give you the short and dirty first, then some gory details. I can't help but think it's like the movie Clockwork Orange. If you haven't seen the movie Clockwork Orange, I really think it's a movie worth seeing. It's a great movie, even though I don't think RDAP is anything like Clockwork Orange in my own opinion. So he's referencing Clockwork Orange to be very similar to the movie. Brainwashing at its finest doesn't involve physical torture and mental torture. Imagine, if you will, that you are being held against your will. Someone tells you you are no good, sorry, and deserve to die. You politely disagree. Then they say, oh, I guess you don't want to go home and get a year off, do you? Well, if you read this guy's blog, and I'll scroll down a little bit, let you kind of scroll at it and read on it a little bit, it's very clear that he was not willing to use the tools properly. Even here he talks about, you know, the pull-up process a little bit. He says they have pull-ups and push-ups, and this is not the exercise. They were just beginning to implement this when I left, so luckily I never had to be a part of the push-ups. when you give somebody props in front of everybody in the auditorium in a daily meeting of 100 people in the RDAP program. A pull-up is the opposite. It's something like, I want to pull up Jimmy for smoking in the hallway. Well, by doing this, you are snitching in front of the 100 RDAP inmates and while the staff are present. Suddenly, that person gets kicked out of the program and has to serve another year, and the snitcher is a target for shit on his bed. So this is somebody who clearly doesn't understand the concept of what RDAP is designed for. And I think it's real important to understand that, yes, RDAP is designed to hold each other accountable, but it's more designed to be able to actively communicate on what you're trying to get across and what you're trying to possibly say to somebody. So when they say, hey, Wi-Fi is slow, but yes, they need to hear the truth. Oh, I thought you meant my Wi-Fi is slow. So when you're pulling somebody up in RDAP, yes, you're holding them accountable. Yes, you're basically telling on them. But what he's not explaining in the beginning of that blog, and I wish I knew who this guy was because I'd love to get him on and just have some fun with him. What he's not telling you is when you sign up for RDAP, when you're sitting in front of the RDAP coordinator or whatever staff members allowing you into the program, you're signing a contract that basically states, I am taking this program on my own accord. And I'm not being forced to take this program. I'm agreeing to participate in all aspects of this program. And it clearly goes over what those main three aspects are. Engaging in the community meeting, engaging in your groups, which are process and content group. Process is where you talk about your feelings. Content is where you go over the book work. And the third area that you are agreeing to participate in is holding others accountable, giving and receiving feedback. What that means, if you see somebody doing something they're not supposed to be doing, you are agreeing before you start this program that you are willing to hold that person accountable to start installing rules and behavior modification into our lives. RDAP is designed to allow you to focus on the flaws that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. In most cases, what led us to prison wasn't drugs and alcohol. Now, drugs and alcohol may have played a big role in it. It may have clouded our judgment, but at some point, we allowed ourselves to start making poor decisions that led to severe drug use, severe alcohol use, severe prescription pills, whatever it may be. At some point, you crossed the line and you allowed these things to control and consume your life. So that is the CBT that he's referring to. Now, cognitive behavior treatment, the program in RDAP is so intense. And yes, it was the hardest thing I ever did. And initially, yes, I felt like, they're just brainwashing me. And what it was is there was things going on in my life that I wasn't willing to look at. I wasn't willing to admit the flaws that I had, because by admitting those flaws, it really was making me realize that I wasn't this great person that I had myself built up to be in my mind. Was there good qualities in my life? Sure. But that's what I focused on. I focused on the good qualities and pretended like the bad qualities didn't exist. And give you guys an example. How many of you have been in a situation before where you were down and out on your luck, things were really rough, maybe you were trying to borrow money from somebody, or maybe you were trying to run these schemes or cons or con arting people and scam artisting people, whether it be in your career or your day-to-day, and you're asking people for money. And you know that maybe they don't really have this money to lend you, but they believe in what you're trying to do. They believe you need help. So they're like, yes, I'm going to lend you this money, but please pay me back. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to pay you back. You've got all the best intentions in the world to pay them back, but you really didn't have a plan. You didn't have a way to pay them back. So ultimately, if that person had said to you, well, I'm going to lend you this money, but I need you to tell me what your plan is. How are you going to be able to repay me? And in a lot of cases, we're not able to say that, which means when we're taking money from somebody, there's a small part of us that knows there's a good chance that we might not be able to pay this back. And we're still willing to put that person in a horrible position because we know they need that money. But we're putting our own wants and needs first in front of somebody else. And that's what has allowed so many of us to walk down this path where we end up in going to federal prison, because it just kept getting deeper and deeper. Now we've got giant mortgages and giant car payments and tuitions for our kids, and our wives or husbands are living this lavish lifestyle that we're trying to create this facade, and we're trying to keep it going. It almost turns into like a real life Ponzi scheme. So we start maintaining and justifying it. This is what RDAP is designed to do. Let me just read some of these messages here. Jay, did you take the RDAP class? And I'll read messages in a minute. So how many of you are familiar with what's called the Johari Window? Because Johari Window has, if you picture like a window pane, 4 different panes. You've got your top left pane of your window, which is your open. Your open is what you see. It's whatever. It's basically you being transparent. It's what you're allowing people to see in your life, how you act. They get to see the good, the bad on what you're allowing them. Then you have your blind. You know what? As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and show you a sample of it here. So this is a Johari Window, okay? This is the best video I could find on YouTube for it, guys. I'm probably going to make my own. So if, you know, bear with me here. It's only like a minute and a half long, but this breaks down. It's going to talk about open, blind, secret, and potential. And this is life. All right, sorry, microphone was off. So that's a quick explanation of what your Johari Window is. So basically the idea is to make your open very open. Right now we have a lot of things that are in our blind. When I went into RDAP, there was so much that was in my blind, it was ridiculous. Things that are in your blind are things that maybe people tell you and you tend to not hear it or you don't understand it. Maybe you're a procrastinator. Maybe you're a manipulator. Maybe you're a liar. And these aren't things that you're willing to come to terms with because it's in your blind. You don't see it on an everyday basis. We continually see people make really bad decisions every day, and it's like, man, how does he not know that? Sometimes we go to somebody's house and it's a complete mess, and we're like, how can he live in this? Does he not know how messy this is and how much this contributes to anxiety and stress? Because it's not brought to his awareness yet. It's not in his open. It's in his blind. And the only way things can be brought out of the blind is by being assertive and a good communicator and holding each other accountable. We should have friends and family in our lives that are willing to tell us what we need to hear, not necessarily what we want to hear. And the best way that can happen is when you really start to look deep in yourself and you start to identify what your flaws are. And you know that, hey, these are things that you might try to do. You might try to manipulate people. You need to tell people that care about you. You need to let them know that it's important for them. Say, hey, mom, dad, brother, sister, wife, husband, whoever it is, if you see me displaying this type of behavior, if you see me acting manipulative, please bring it to my attention, because I may be acting out of an impulse that I'm not realizing it at the time. You have to be willing and open-minded enough to be able to hear somebody say something like that to you. A lot of the times people will tell us and we get really pissed off, angry, we don't want to hear it. You'll see it all the time on Facebook. Somebody posts something on Facebook, like something that you don't agree with, something that they're doing, and they're posting it on Facebook for everybody to see. And the minute you oppose their thought, they get all upset and butthurt and they want to start calling you names. That means they're not being open-minded to getting feedback, being able to grow. Now, also just as important, so you've got your open, your blind, and then that third pane down in the bottom left is basically your secret. These are things that you know that you don't want other people to know. For example, the lady I was talking to today on the phone, she's been very secretive about her son being in prison. She doesn't want anybody to know. She's keeping it hidden. She's keeping it this dark secret. And what it's done is it's kind of confined her to her own situation. She doesn't feel comfortable talking to friends and family because if they ask her, hey, we haven't seen Ian in a while, it's going to bring up some real raw emotion to where she doesn't want to talk about it because she's been keeping that so hidden. Other things that might be in our blind are, maybe we've got something in our past. Maybe you're a bad speller. Maybe you never graduated high school. Maybe maybe there's something going on in your life and you're just not telling anybody about it and you're keeping it a secret and pretending like it doesn't exist. All of these things create pathological areas in our mind to where we're trying to constantly hide this stuff from people, and it makes us very mysterious, not in a good way. And you got your potential, your last pain over on the bottom right hand side of this. You've got your last pain, your potential. Your potential is what can be, good or bad. Once you start opening up your blind, and once you start revealing your secrets, your open becomes a much larger window to where now people are getting to see the real you for who you really are. And what you'll find is more people have stuff in common with you than you would have maybe known earlier on. So it's very important to be able to identify your flaws. And that is the main thing that RDAP is going to focus on. RDAP is designed to make you uncomfortable. RDAP is designed to make you do things you've never done before. RDAP is designed to make you be able to deal with humility. One of the things that you have to do in RDAP during the morning meeting, a lot of the times they have what's called an upbeat ritual or an upbeat activity. Basically, it's a game. And usually every morning there's some sort of a game. And sometimes the games are real ridiculous where you got to do stuff that's very uncomfortable. You got to get up, you might have to sing, you might have to dance, you might have to act like a child, talk like a baby. Some people don't care. Some people are perfectly fine with being humiliated and don't mind it because they realize it's no big deal. They're not really being humiliated. It's in their head. But other people are so worried and so afraid of doing that in front. They're so afraid of getting up and talking in front of somebody because they're afraid of how people are going to view them. That is somebody that severely struggles with humility. That's why RDAP does this. That's why RDAP makes you uncomfortable because it wants you to be able to... What's going on tomorrow? There's tomorrow, right now. Tomorrow, this video's for you. You made me think about this video today, and a lot of people are dealing with it. But humility, how many times have some of us been out in public, or maybe we're out with our wife or our husband or whatever, and somebody looks at you the wrong way, or somebody says something, and you react, or somebody's giving you a weird look, and you start feeling a little bit like you're getting angry inside, like, what's he looking at me like that for? Or who's he? He's not going to talk to me like that. And you start mouthing off and getting lippy back with him. And the next thing you know, it could lead to something bad. It could lead to an altercation. It could lead to a fight. It could lead to an arrest. It could lead to death. You just don't know. It's because we're not focusing on the consequences. So when you realize if you're able to deal with humility and you're able to bring it on and no big deal, and it's not the end of the world, who cares? Who cares if you look like, who cares if you fall in public and people start laughing at you? You're really going to get that mad where you want to go fight somebody? These are things that so many of us struggle with, and RDAP knows that going into it. It is going to find your weakness and it is going to hone in on it. If you have anger problems, if you feel like you got to fight everybody and you got to be that guy that no one's going to tell you and no one's going to talk to you a certain way, well, RDAP's going to expose that, and they're going to really drive it home on you and make you very uncomfortable for the next 10 months. There's no way you're going to be able to get through RDAP without being the real you. You can't fake it. You can't pretend. You can't be an action figure. You're not going to be an actor where you're going to pretend to be a certain person. Eventually, the real you is going to be exposed, and it's either on your terms or their terms. So this gentleman, that his blog that we just read, for those of you that missed the blog, I think it's this one right here. For those of you that missed the blog, this is basically somebody that posted a blog, Stories from Club Fed, and he went through RDAP, and he's referring and he's comparing RDAP to Clockwork Orange, the movie. If you haven't seen Clockwork Orange, it's an amazing movie, but RDAP is not based on Clockwork Orange. RDAP is a very highly skilled cognitive therapy program that if you're willing to learn, you can make new behaviors. So brainwashing. You know, I would go as far to say that there's good forms of brainwashing and bad forms of brainwashing. Basically, what you're doing is you're relearning. You're re-educating yourself. You've learned everything a certain way your entire life. You get used to doing things your way. Maybe you never wanted to budge. Maybe you never wanted to hear anybody's opinion. You're the first one to argue with somebody, and RDAP is not going to allow you to do that. If you want to get the year off, they're going to make you bite your tongue and listen to what other people have to say and take in the feedback. And that can be a really hard feat for a lot of us. But what it does is you're creating new behaviors, you're creating new habits, you're learning new skills, you're gathering new tools to combat how you deal with people in your day-to-day. So if you want to look at that as a form of brainwashing, quit, give up, run away because it's too hard to allow yourself to change for the better, then sure, blame it on some bullshit like, oh, they're just brainwashing me and I'm going to leave so I can go back and be the scumbag that I was before I went to prison. Guys, the whole point of going through RDAP is not just to get the year off. Yes, that's huge. Yes, that's a great incentive. And a lot of us probably would never engage in RDAP if we weren't getting the year off. Even though I did meet quite a few people in RDAP that were not getting the time off, that still took the program and still benefited from it in a great deal. Not time off wise, but changing their life wise. I'm telling you guys, RDAP has the ability to give you a new outlook on life, but you have to be willing to accept it. You have to be willing to embrace and realize that you don't have it all figured out and you can't do it all by yourself, that you do possibly need the help and assistance from your peers, not necessarily from teachers or mentors, but just your peers in general. If most people in the world were able to communicate properly and say what they really think or feel, oh my God, we would live in a different place. But how many times do we just take sides with our friend? How many times do you see like a boyfriend and girlfriend break up? My friends are going to side with me and say, oh, she's this, she's that. Her friends are going to side with her and say, oh, he's this, he's that. Meanwhile, looking back at it, they're probably behind the scenes going, well, you know, he kind of was an asshole. He did cheat on her a lot. Or behind the scenes, they're saying, well, you know, she wasn't really willing to do anything with her life. She just sat home and never did anything. So, you know, she kind of had it coming. If we told each other these things, you know, you're doing somebody a favor. You're helping them see things that are in their blind, things that they're not willing to look at yet. And just because you're saying it to them today doesn't necessarily mean they're going to absorb it today and comprehend it. But if they heard it from you today and they heard it from somebody else tomorrow and they heard it from somebody else next week, eventually those little seeds that are getting planted are potentially going to make a difference. You know, and we see it with our parents the best. Growing up as kids, our parents would tell us stuff until they're blue in the face. We ignore, right? Then we hear the same exact thing from a complete stranger, and all of a sudden it makes all the sense in the world because of where it came from. You got to realize that do not automatically disregard where you're getting your information from, assuming it's going to be bad information. You never know who you're going to be able to learn something from, good or bad. RDAP was the most stressful thing that I have ever done in my entire life that I can think of right now. Getting through RDAP was not an easy task. It wasn't easy for me at all. I imagined it being really easy, but it was completely the opposite of easy. It was hard as an understatement. There were several times where I thought I was going to get removed from the program, not make it through the program, and it wasn't because the work was too hard. It was just the amount of pressure that is put on you to demonstrate that you are willing to try to change. And in order to really do that, you've actually got to really do it. You can't pretend. You can pretend for a couple of weeks. 10 months, that's a very draining soap opera to put on if you're just pretending. Let's read some messages. Anyone know? Todd's doing really good. I just saw Gaboner, whatever your name is there. Todd's doing really well. He's trying to get into RDAP right now, but he's still doing as good as he can possibly doing. I used to be mouthy like that, but now I just ignore most people. Preparing myself for court and hopefully no prison but probation. Noxter, I'm praying for you, my man. I hope that works out for you. I actually just got a call from a client of mine here, Kim, She actually lives here in my area, Spokane. She actually saw me off of one of the news channels. She hired me, I guess, God, it's been 4 or 5 months ago. She went to court. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, and she got probation. She was given 5 years federal probation, no house arrest, just straight probation. So she's technically on probation right now. So she's flying high, and she called me today to tell me, she wanted to thank me because she said the judge commented on what a difference these letters made in his decision on the purpose of giving. He says he gives probation out of all the people he sentences, and we're talking from the way she explained it, we're talking 30, 40 people a month that this judge sentences. He says maybe once a month does he give somebody probation that he feels deserves it. And he told her, you are somebody that deserves probation more than a lot of other people that I've seen before you. That's good and bad. It's great for her, but it might raise the bar for other people. He wants to see other people putting in that same type of effort. But she received probation, and she was looking at about 36 months. So it's great to see somebody's hard work, efforts, and being able to be involved in that journey, helping somebody do that. It feels really, really, really good to be able to provide a service that isn't just hype, and it's not just smoke and mirrors. A service that makes such a difference where it can keep somebody home with their life. If you or a loved one are facing federal prison time, if you haven't been indicted yet, or you have been indicted and you're working on your plea, if you want to find out what you might be able to do to possibly give yourself the opportunity for either probation or a reduced sentence, please do not hesitate to call, email, or text me. That's why I leave my information on this screen, because there should be no excuse for somebody that needs the help to reach out and find out what we might be able to do for you. So yeah, it's great getting these phone calls. So that's been like in the last 2 months, that's what, 4 people have received probation. And we're hoping that number is just going to keep growing and growing and growing. We're definitely going to turn these into success stories on the blog as well. Tamara, fan, reach out to her judge. I'm just reading some of these. Bonnie, Mary Kay Ash had a great way of giving feedback. The Mary Kay sandwich is 3 layers of relevant description of problem and layer of encouragement. I use these tactics to give feedback and found it to be a great way to give someone to listen. Yeah, and the thing is, having a proper conversation with somebody, basically both people have to be willing to give and receive feedback. If I'm talking to you, or let's say if you're talking to me, if you're giving me your side of an opinion or a view, and halfway through what you're saying, I start to go, no, it's not like that. What you're saying is crazy. If I haven't even finished listening to what you're saying, what that should tell you is I'm not listening to you. I'm already thinking about what I'm going to say next, which means I can't be digesting what you're saying. So that's another strong portion of RDAP that is really devised to deal with that as well. It wants to make sure, are we on the live stream on YouTube or on Facebook as well? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think it is. Just checking because nobody's chimed in. Yeah, it's there. All right. So anyway, if you're on Facebook, feel free to join in the communication. Guys, do me a favor. If here we'll go ahead, and if you haven't, for those of you that are on YouTube right now, watching me on YouTube, not Facebook, obviously. If you're on YouTube, please, here's a link to my Facebook. Got so many damn computer screens going on here. Here's a link right here, and it's also in the description of this video. Go ahead and like and follow me on Facebook as well. We're going to start doing some videos that will only be on YouTube and some videos that will only be on Facebook. Just trying to get everybody transferred over. Those of you that are on Facebook, do me a favor. Please come join us over on YouTube. rdapdan, subscribe to our channel and help this community grow. We just hit 1,900 subscribers today, guys. So that's a small feat for some, but a huge feat for me. Very, very happy to have 1,900 subscribers. We're almost at that 2,000 mark. So RDAP is comprised of several different areas of what you can be doing to improve yourself. And they use that carrot of the year off to get people into the program. So it doesn't matter why you're getting into the program. What matters is what you get out of the program. How we get somewhere isn't really important as to what we get from it and how we leave. So I went into RDAP with just wanting the year off. I left with RDAP with going, holy, this changed my entire life. How do I share this with the world? How do I get my message out? Thank God for the platform of YouTube, Facebook, and other social media, because this has allowed me to put myself in front of so many just like you. The Knoxter just donated $2. All right, high five to the Knoxter. If and Knoxter's getting ready to go to prison, so that goes a long way, guys. If you want to donate, you know, I know you guys hate me talking about it, but the money that goes in, the money that you guys are able to help out with, it goes to support people that are going to prison or in prison that do not have things that we all need. Warm clothes, hygiene products. So here you go. Click on that link. I just put it in the video right there. Those of you that are on my Facebook page, you can also just come over to my YouTube channel. There's a little money symbol. Feel free. Donate $2. Donate $200. Matter of fact, $2,000. Now, whatever you guys feel comfortable with. Every little penny helps, and it really does go a long way for those that are in prison without. So I appreciate that, Knoxter. It means a lot. Yeah, guys, RDAP changed my life. It's given me purpose. It's given me something to give back. You know, every single day in RDAP was a struggle. There was good, there was bad. There was a lot of good days, a lot of stressful days, a lot of days where you just, because every Thursday they had what's called team. Team is when they decide to bring random people into the office. Think about going to the principal's office. Mr. Wise, please report to the principal's office. Ooh, you're in trouble. It's kind of what getting teamed is. Thursday morning, everybody's just dead silent, wondering who's going to get teamed. And you're in the middle of one of your group sessions. You'll see a staff walk in, and you know they're coming in to tell somebody they got teamed. You're just going, God, please don't let it be me. And somehow, I never got teamed. I don't know how I never got teamed, because I thought several times I was getting kicked out of the program. And but I never got teamed. But I used to watch them come in. Mr. Smith, please pick 2. You've got team. Pick 2? It's not like the McDonald's menu where you pick 2. This is pick 2. This is you pick one of your peers that's in your content group, and then you have to pick a peer that's in your process group, one from each. They're going to sit in on your team, and during your team, it's all the staff members. So it's the doctor, which is basically the RDAP coordinator, the psychologist. Then however many staff members, they're called DTSs, drug treatment specialists, how many DTSs are at the prison or at that specific prison, they're also going to be in there. So it's you, 2 of your peers, and 4 or 5 staff members comprised of the doctors and the DTS. And they're going to go, so let's say it was me, Mr. Wise. What do you think you struggle with the most? It's like, so you better know. You better know where your struggles are. You better know at this point. If they're teaming you, you better know what you're having struggles in. And, you know, I would say my biggest struggle is manipulation. How do you see yourself working on that? Have you been making improvement? What have you been doing to improve your manipulation? And, you know, you're going to have to give some explanation. But if you haven't, and you're getting teamed, probably because they don't think that you're programming and that you're achieving where you should be, you might have to bite the bullet and go, you know what? I'm not doing enough. There's a lot more that I could have been doing. I've been kind of being lazy and not really putting effort in. Interesting. Interesting, Mr. Wise. So they go to one of your peers. Let's say, you know, Bob Smith. Mr. Smith, how do you see Mr. Wise engaging the community? How would you say he's working on his manipulation? Now, Bob's my friend. Bob's like, fuck. I'm put between a rock and a hard place. But Bob knows if he doesn't give it to me raw, that they're just going to put him on the podium next. So my best friend, who I'm, you know, cutting it up with all day long, Bob's like, well, I don't see Mr. Wise really engaging in the community very often. I see him keeping to himself. I see him making excuses for his actions. Honestly, I don't see why Mr. Wise is in this program, because he doesn't seem like he's trying to take it serious. Holy shit, Bob, you just took my head off over there. Tone it down a little bit. Thank you, Bob. We really appreciate that feedback. Mr. Wise, did you hear the feedback that Bob just gave you? Yeah. Yep. Well, what do you got to say to Bob? In my mind, I'm like, I want to fucking choke this cocksucker. But out loud, you got to be like, Bob, I appreciate that feedback, Bob. I'm glad you brought this to my awareness because, you know, honestly, I think this was in my blind and you've given me some things that I need to work on. Then they're going to go to the next person and they're going to ask them what they think about you and all of this. And then they're going to go, please step out. Will we discuss? It's like Survivor Island going on right now. Okay. You're wondering, am I going to get voted off the island? So you step out. You step out with your peers. Now you're in the hallway talking, going, how do you think it went? Oh my God, I don't know, man. I feel like they hate me right now. You're sitting out there 10, 15 minutes. All of a sudden you see the office door open. Mr. Wise, you guys can come. Please come in, have a seat. So then they sit you down. They're looking at you and they're, Mr. Wise, we've discussed, and what we've decided is there is hope for you. We've decided we do want to keep you in RDAP. We do think that you can grasp the tools. However, we don't think you're ready to progress on with your group. So what we're going to do is we're going to rephase you today, Mr. Wise. We're going to set you back 90 days. We're going to put you into the group that's before you or ahead of you, whatever you want to call it. So you're getting set back 90 days. Now it goes from 10 months or 9 months, 9.5 months, whatever. Now it goes to about a year that you're going to be in this program. Or they say, Mr. Wise, we've talked to you on several occasions. We've brought this to your attention on several occasions. We've had several other of your peers that have brought this to your attention, and it doesn't seem like you're taking it serious. It seems like you're wasting a spot here in RDAP that could be used for somebody else that does want to help themselves, that does want to make change, that does want to return to society a better person than how they came in there. So because of that, we're going to have to remove you from the program, Mr. Wise. So good luck to you. Boom, you're out. Kicked out of the program. Just like that. Now, you're not going to get kicked out for just something stupid. It's going to be continued behavior pattern. They've told you you need to work on this and you refuse. They told you you need to work on this and you refuse. You keep displaying the same issues. You keep making the same mistakes over and over again. You keep saying the right thing. I'm going to fix myself. I'm going to do better. I'm sorry. Action-based in there. If they don't see you making progress, if they don't see you actually working towards something, progress can be different for different people. Just because somebody else progresses at a rapid pace doesn't mean they're expecting you to do the same thing, but they are expecting to see progress. At whatever level it is, everybody's at different levels. If you go in there and you're super smart and you've got, you know, great work history and you're charismatic and you're carrying yourself well, you're going to be expected to do a little bit more than somebody that's got basic reading abilities, somebody that's never really been to school, somebody that's never held a job. They are going to be expected to just maintain to where you're going to be expected to go above and beyond. My expectations of me in RDAP from them to me were much higher than somebody else that, you know, has a 7th grade reading level because we're in different points in our life, and I understood that. But you would see them skate by and do things that somebody else might do and get in more trouble for, and you had to realize that not everybody is the same. It's a fair playing field, but it's not an even playing field. You know, it's just like you're not going to put, you know, an NFL linebacker up against a high school linebacker. They're both focusing, they're both doing their best, but one's got different abilities than the other. It's simple as that. Not apples and apples. So you have to be grouped with your type of person, your type of personality, and you got to focus on that needs to be your goal. Don't base it on somebody else. And that's the biggest thing I took from RDAP. The biggest reason why I think I made it through RDAP was I learned early on. My DTS, Miss Neesmith, God bless her, love that woman. She made such a difference in my life. I know a lot of you. She's a scary DTS because she doesn't hold any punches. She tells it how it is. And Miss Neesmith told me, don't ever lie to me. Don't ever lie to me. That was her big thing. Her big thing was do not ever lie to me. So when I did get caught doing stupid things, I'll tell you one of the stories. Okay, so we've got, I wish I had my books out. So we've got these different work. This isn't one of them. This is just a book from Joe Baker, the guy that was on the show. If you guys want to check out his book, let me know and I can get you a copy of it. But it's a book he wrote in prison. Anyway, so you've got your workbooks, right? You've got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and each phase has a couple of books. I can't remember which book I was in. I think it was Rational Thinking. The book work is rather easy, okay? The book work's not rocket science, but they want you to apply yourself and put as much into these books as you can. They don't want you just to write some basic one-word answers. So what I did, the first book I did, I put 1,000,000% effort into the first book, Orientation, and they never reviewed it. I'm like, oh man, they don't even review these books? I'm not going to work that hard on the next book, which was Rational Thinking. So my Rational Thinking book was bullshit. The book wasn't bullshit. The information I put in it was bullshit. When it would ask me to like reflect on something, I'd put like 2 sentences because I didn't really care at that point. It's like, they're not going to read it. Who cares? So I did, my whole book was just half-assed. Man, I shit you not, at the end of that book, everybody please pass your book to the front. This book? You want me to pass this book to the front? Sure, why not? Please don't review my book. Give my book up to the front. 2 or 3 days later, they came back and said, okay, we're giving everybody your books back. And if we didn't give you your book back, you might be in trouble. So pretty much everybody in my group got their book back except for like 3 of us. I was one of them that didn't get their book back. I get called to basically, okay, if this was probably, I said I never got teamed. This wasn't an official team, but it was the same atmosphere as a team. I walk into the office, it's Dr. Smith, it's Miss Neesmith, it's Mr. Garcia, it's Mr. Rivera, and Miss Wilkerson, and Miss Anderson. I can't believe I remembered all their names. They're all sitting there. Dr. Smith. Mr. Wise looks at, or Dr. Smith looks at me. Mr. Wise, do you know why you're in here today? I said, well, I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with my book because I didn't get my book back. She pulls it out. She lays it down in front of me. You're right. There is something wrong with your book, Mr. Wise. And I'm going, fuck. This is not good. She says, so then Miss Neesmith, my DTS, chimes in. Miss Neesmith is like, Mr. Wise, you've always got such great things to say. You're always very outspoken. You're always giving great advice. This book does not represent the way you act. Why does this book not represent the way you act? And now, there was a little bit of, in my mind, what I was going to say is, look, we got these books real late. Then you guys wanted them finished by a certain point. So you didn't really give us the amount of time that you're supposed to. So I almost went to, well, you guys didn't give us enough time to work on them, so I had to rush through it. And right as I was about to say that, Miss Neesmith must have been reading my mind. And she goes, Mr. Wise, before you answer, think about what you're about to say. Because there could be consequences. And I'm like, holy shit. So I sat there in silence. And I said, honestly, I didn't think you guys were going to read the books. So I really didn't put any effort into it. I just kind of wrote whatever came to mind. Everybody just kind of looked at each other, whispered. Pss, 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 pss. Dr. Smith says, that's probably the best thing you could have said, Mr. Wise. And it was because they knew I was capable of putting more into the book. They also knew I was capable of blaming other people for why I didn't put the effort into the book. Same thing with jobs. Why didn't you get your job done? Why didn't the dishes get cleaned? Why didn't you pay this bill? Why didn't you repay this person? You make excuses. Well, you didn't give me enough time. They didn't give me enough hours. They cut my hours this week. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Fucking take ownership in everything because it's what RDAP is all about. It really is. It comes down to giving feedback and receiving feedback and explaining what's going on in your mind. And when you're not, and that was the thing with me, that's what I learned early on from Miss Neesmith was when I made a mistake, I owned it. I wore that mistake. I talked about it proudly. I was like, hey, I fucked up again. This is what I did. Now, it was very rare that I made the same mistake. There might have been some same thought pattern creating future mistakes because it was like levels and levels and levels of mistake where you get better up this level, but then you're finding that same mentality also lives way down here when you get deeper, and it's also influencing different types of decisions. So it really takes a lot of getting to know yourself and being open-minded. I spent a lot of time with peers that I saw doing the right thing and saw them on a good path. Yeah, they had struggles too. Some of them might have been faking it, but what they were faking was a personality that I was like, wow, they've got it down. I don't just want to pretend like I'm that person. I want to be able to feel like that, legitimately feel like that, feel good about what I'm doing. And that's what got me through RDAP. Hand to God, that's what got me through RDAP. If I would have had any other DTS other than Miss Neesmith, I may not have made it through the program, because she was the best fit for me possible. Not every other DTS is a good fit for everybody. She was an amazing fit for me because she was able to identify what my issues were and show them to me in a way where it made it very noticeable to me on what they were, so I could start identifying them. So I didn't have to rely on somebody going, "Up, you fucked up again." I could start catching myself before I fucked up. Anyway, that was my RDAP story, and that was me almost getting my head kicked in RDAP one of the times. There are several other RDAP stories. Maybe we should have, RDAP Friday or something where I tell you guys a different RDAP story, or we have people on that did RDAP that want to tell their stories. But RDAP was definitely no walk in the park. You've got so many different cliques going on. You've got people firing. You've got people shooting at you. You've got this person out to get you. You've got that person out to get you. And at the end of the day, if you get got, it's because you exposed yourself. You did something to become vulnerable, to make a mistake, and somebody else took advantage and capitalized off of that mistake. If somebody's telling on you for smoking out on the handball court, you got to ask yourself, regardless of who told on me and what their motivation, whether they hated me or what, the fact that they told on me, that's really irrelevant. The focus on that needs to be, did I do what they said I did? Was I smoking? I was. My bad. I fucked up. You can't blame the person that told on you. Simple as that. Thank you, Gaboner. I didn't even see it come in the room. Oh, there it is. Oh, no. It might take a minute, Gaboner. I'm not sure if it pops in right away, but I appreciate that for donating the $20. Guys, and all these $20 here, $2 there, $5 there, every month we receive a couple $100s in donations, and we've got a good handful of guys. It's the website rdapdan. It's finished for the most part. There's going to be a new version of it early January, but it's going to have a lot of what's in there now, but it's going to be higher class. It's going to be a step above what it is now. But we're going to be showcasing inmates that are getting ready to go, or inmates that are struggling, that we're going to be showcasing, trying to help them with what we can, with what we can do. So appreciate that, Gaboner. Thank you very, very much. I don't know. Did you do it through the link? Because usually when you do it through the link, you see it pop up in the chat. I didn't see it pop up unless it's just taken a few minutes. But I do appreciate it very much. Awesome. High five. So also, for those of you that become the paying subscribers on the website, what is it, the $10 a month option, we're also going to be doing giveaways every month to you guys, whether it be, Visa gift cards, other useful electronics, basically something that has a value that you can use. Because I know a lot of people out there are struggling, could use, a $100 Visa gift card, especially like during holiday seasons like that, use it to pay a couple bills, pay a cell phone bill. So we do want to also use a portion of that money to give back to you guys for being such awesome supporters of what we've been trying to do here for the last 2 years. With that said, I'm probably going to wrap this video up. Also, Lions of Liberty, I've got some really good things coming with him real soon. We're going to be doing a partnership. Also, I'm going to be partnering up with a inmate phone company called Prison Connect, which is going to bring an amazing reduced price to you guys for what it will cost while you're in prison to have a local phone number, unless you're going to use like Skype or something like that. But if you're looking for a service, this is about as good of a deal that I could possibly find, and they're willing to work with us. So we're going to be partnering up with them. So we're doing a lot of different directional partnerships, and they're all dedicated to be able to give back to you guys for being so awesome. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Pretty much follow me anywhere and everywhere. How are bullies handled in RDAP? Bonnie, bullies don't do well in RDAP. It's considered they struggle with power orientation, asserting power over another, making them feel weak, and it does not go well at all. And that doesn't even have to be like bullying, like give me your lunch money. It could just be raising your voice, trying to be intimidating. Over talking somebody can be considered bullying. So bullying does not get you far at all in RDAP. And if you're a big guy, if you're big and you look scary, you can be construed as bullying or power orientation. So you have to be extra aware of your surroundings and how you respond to people. Because I've seen guys in there that weren't meaning to be aggressive, but they came off aggressive. It's just in their nature. And they have to work on that, because if your nature is aggressive nature, even though you don't mean anything by it, that's still the perception you're giving off. People can only go off of perception. And you can't control what somebody else's perception is of you other than agreeing that, okay, I could see how I could be perceived that way. What can I do to reduce that perception? You got to start making new habit changes. Simple as that. Like Big Herc. Big Herc sounds like a big teddy bear to me. He does not sound scary. Like when I hear, he's big and muscly, but he doesn't seem aggressive. He doesn't seem intimidating. Like, I mean, maybe he was mad and he was trying to be intimidating, he could, but he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that you'd be in a conversation with going, wow, he's scary. You know, he's kind of like, talks like, he's like got that Mike Tyson voice and a little bit of a lisp. Kind of takes away from the fear factor. You know, his channel should be called Tyson. All right, guys. I'm gonna go eat some dinner. We're going to a Christmas party on one tomorrow, one Saturday. Hope you guys are having some fun Christmas parties to go join and go do stuff with the community. Find out if your community is doing anything. Don't sit around. Get out, do something positive, go do some community service, work on those letters. If you're not sure what you need to do next, now's a great time to lock in my phone number, 509-434-4695. Also, make sure you text the word YouTube to 35074. Whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, text the word YouTube to 35074. It will put you on our notification list, letting you know when awesome new cool things are coming out. All right, everybody, have yourselves a merry, merry Wednesday. Love every single one of you. As always, community as method, people helping people, one day at a time. All right.